Hi there everybody, this is David, and I have played Final Fantasy IV a million times. It's actually one of my favorite games in the entire series. I played it since I was a little kid. I was probably like 10 or so years old when I first got it back on the SNES. Played through all the different versions, and I love it. And I'm just here to say though, not everything is created equal, especially the spells. Some of them are really good, some of them are absolutely terrible. They are dumpster fire bad. And here I want to go over 10 of the absolute worst spells in the entire game, and I definitely do think it's worth the sub as you come and you join a party and you level on up with me. Thank you so much for your sub, your like, and your brand new hype. It helps me out a ton. And now, let's start going over some of these trash heap spells. First up at number 10, we have the transformation spells, like Toad, Pig, and Minnie. Here we're going to be going over the three most useful of the most useless spells, the transformation spells. And the only reason why they're useful is when you use them as they weren't intended to be used. As they are status effect spells, I'm sure that the developers actually intended you to use them on the enemies, just as like cute little inside jokes to transform them, at least whenever they hit, which is like, 1% of the time. But their actual usefulness comes only because they are actually a toggle. Basically, if you turned into a frog, pig, or a miniature, then you can actually cast those spells and you can toggle the status. So rather than using them offensively, you end up using them from the menu defensively just to kind of cure status ailments, which I really don't think was the developer's intention of their usefulness, but whatever. At least that means that these three spells have some uses, unlike the rest of the spells on this list. Next up, we have number 9, Sight. Nowadays, we have the internet and world maps at our fingertips, but even back in the day when world maps were still kind of like a mystery and we really didn't know where to go, I still remember only casting Sight twice. Once, whenever I went down Mount Hobbs and I was kind of looking for where Fabul was, and then another time whenever I was leaving Mysidia and I was trying to figure out where Mount Ordeals was and how far away I was from it. That's literally it. I kind of feel like the spell was put in by Square not really for its usefulness, but instead to kind of show off the Mode 7 of the SNES. But then, Sight gets even worse whenever you play the remakes. I mean, the Nintendo DS literally has a map on the bottom screen, so Sight is just completely useless there. And the Pixel remasters include a mini-map, so what's the point? It just became a cute novelty and nothing more. Number 8, Warp. I hate this spell. It's a poor man's exit. It's useful for literally one dungeon in the entire game. And even then, it's kind of a stretch to call it useful, because you have to cast the damn thing 50 frickin' times to just actually leave the dungeon. Basically, it just warps you back to the last door that you went out of. And the only time in the entire game that you might actually want to cast this stupid thing is in the Antlion's Den. Because, all the other dungeons in the game either have their own immediate exit, or you'll have access to the exit spell. So hopefully Rydia is alive after the Antlion fight, and then you'll be able to cast it, a million times just to be able to leave, and then you'll never use it again. Number 7, the Lost Spells of Protect, Shell, and Dispel. Have y'all ever noticed that Rosa learns 3 less spells than Rydia? I remember noticing that when I was a kid, and I thought that it was a little bit unusual, but I really didn't think anything else about it. Well, there is a reason for this. In the American version of the game, the developers, took out these 3 spells because, I guess that they thought that they were just a little bit too complicated for stupid Americans to figure out. Or it could also be that there's literally no reason whatsoever to ever use them. They work exactly the same way that they do in the other Final Fantasy games, but they're really kind of just not needed. At least not needed in the vanilla versions of the game, but if you do play the hard or DS version, I'm sure you'll need them because, that version is just ridiculously hard. Number 6, Edge's Magic. This poor guy. I really feel like the developers did Edge dirty. They kind of gave him a bag of tricks to utilize, from stealing and throwing weapons, both of which can be situationally useful. But, the one thing that's never useful are his awful magical spells. He's really there as a fast single-target attack or a glass cannon, but Flame, Flood, and Blitz are all multi-target, and their damage output? Pretty abysmal. Later on, he'll learn Pin, which is pretty much Hold, also completely useless. Smoke only lets you run away, but, Exit does the exact same thing, and Image is just blank, except that he can only use it on himself. And while you might use these spells, once or twice over the course of the game, if you're using Edge's magic on the regular, sorry, but you're just doing it wrong. Number 5, Sylph. For all the crap that you have to go through just to get this shitty frickin' summon, it should actually be something useful. But not only is this one of the hardest optional summons to actually learn, it's easily the most useless of the 5. Ashura is good for healing. Leviathan and Bahamut are ridiculously powerful, and not only is Odin, super easy to get, but it's useful too. Sylph, though, not so much. Not only do you have to traverse one of the most annoying caves in the entire game, complete with damaging tiles, super long vampire battles, and Maraboros with their bad breath, but you have to do it twice. The first time just to find Yang, then you have to go back to Fabul and tell his wife, then you have to go to that crap-ass cave again to whack the poor guy upside the head with a frying pan, only to wake him up to learn this absolutely useless summon. Number 4, the status spells. Poison, Sleep, Hold, and Confuse. I swear, depending on the RPG, status spells like these are either completely ridiculously overpowered or incredibly useless. Unfortunately, though, here they are absolutely useless. Actually, I kind of feel like in just about every single Final Fantasy game, status spells like these are just, completely useless. And it's only the more esoteric RPGs that actually make them useful. It's almost like the developers wanted enemies to have access to these annoying spells to, use against you, so they figured, well, we might as well give them to the player too. Not that there is ever a single time you will ever want to use them. Number 3, Quake. A tale of two spells, Titan and Quake. Both are Earth Elemental spells, both are learned by Rydia and not Tella, and both cost 30 MP, and both do the exact same thing, except Titan has a higher power ranking than Quake, and you'll learn it quicker, because Rydia gets to automatically when she rejoins as an adult, whereas she actually has to level up to learn Quake naturally. So there's literally no time and no reason why you would ever cast Quake, when, you learn Titan sooner, it costs the exact same amount of MP, and it deals more damage. Quake's just literally useless. Number 2, Rydia's dropped summons. Okay, I like hidden, unique magic spells as much as the next guy, and I think that giving her 4 unique drop summons is a really cool concept. But that still does not change the fact that all 4 of them are absolutely garbage. Not to mention that they're all a royal pain in the ass to get too. Goblin deals like no damage to a monster, you're honestly just better off physically attacking with Rydia. Cockatrice does pretty much the exact same thing as the stone spell, so it's just redundant. Bomb just deals damage based upon her current HP to one enemy, so Mistdrag is infinitely better. And Mind Flayer is essentially like the hold spell. None of these are worth the time and trouble that it actually takes to get one of these 2 in 56 drops. It's just crazy. And last up, we have the legendary spell, Meteo. All game long, they go on and on and on about how frickin' great Meteo is, how it's such a legendary spell and super powerful and oh my god, and then you go and you get it, and it's shit. First of all, I have like a vendetta against it simply because, it's the spell that killed Old Man Tella. And secondly, and this is the real kicker, you can pretty much beat the game at level 50, and that is whenever Rosa finishes learning her last spell, and Rydia learns all of hers except for Meteo. You have to grind 10 more levels up to level 60 if you want her to learn it. And then whenever you do, you will find that all the final bosses have a special counter specifically just for Meteo, making it a horrible choice to actually use it in battle. You are much better off just casting Flare, or even better, summoning Bahamut, because this spell is only legendary in how craptastic it actually is. So that's it for all the worst spells in one of my favorite Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy IV. What spells do you think are absolutely terrible, and what spells do you really like? And also, do you agree or disagree? Let me know in the comments. Let's all talk and chat about it. And as always, have a good day.